update. Mr. General Mesno, there is obviously, the issue of terrorism that India needs to take up with China as well. With the CPEC and the BRI not really fructifying the way in which China had hoped for, there is space for a conversation with China when it comes to, giving this patronage to Pakistan whenever India has tried to flag a terrorist organization at the UNSC. Is that a window that is perhaps explorable right now? I'm not saying it's open. General Mesno? Sir, are you there with us?
Yeah, Vineet.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Vineet, definitely we can explore and we must explore. But there are certain basic considerations. As on date, the most nuisance state in the world is Pakistan. It is a terrorist state, sponsors of state terrorism. And therefore, very surprisingly, President Trump is exploiting Pakistan. And even China has been exploiting Pakistan to achieve their end goals against India. And this is where the whole problem is. Pakistan, both America and China. Let's now look at China. Is China today not going to ever talk in the SCO about the cross-border terrorism which is being sponsored by Pakistan and also the terrorism act which is done against India? So these are contentious issues. I already told you in the UNSC. Whenever we go for these terrorists to be declared as global terrorists, the Chinese, they just veto it. So this factor is very, very important, and I feel they will continue to the Chinese will continue to support Pakistan on this account, and that is the unfortunate part, because sometimes nuisance value or a nuisance state also has a value for these superpowers. And I'm very surprised a country like America has today, I would not say aligned, but it is partnering with Pakistan. The fact that against all protocols, he called the army chief Munir and had a meal with him. Number two, the lowest tariffs I think in the entire, I would say, Asia is to Pakistan, just 19%. And imagine, our Sindoor was such a sensitive issue. Families were wiped out. The husbands were wiped out. And here is the president of United States, America, who is hosting a terrorist. So this is the irony. Both America and China will continue to support Pakistan because they have got nuisance value. So tomorrow, whenever they want to pinprick India, they can do any of these activities, and that's a reality. Nevertheless, now coming on to the border issues, even border issues, see, one thing is very clear, that the border issue, can it be resolved? I feel it cannot be resolved. Reason being, the date will be resolved is when a sidechain claim is given up by China. Will they ever do it? No, they will not do it. Will China ever give up its claim on cartographic aggression, which they are doing on Arunachal Pradesh? I doubt. When I was commanding my brigade, I used to get the Chinese map. It's total, they show the Arunachal as part of China. So if that cannot be done, so I think in the interim, the right step is that let's at least have peace and tranquility, confidence building measures, which the step has been, and you are aware about the working mechanisms, border mechanism, including the special representative mechanism which both India and China have established. But those are temporary things. If that eases out, border is not going to be resolved. We can definitely have areas of dispute and differences. Some mutual understanding will be there. Joint patrollings can be there. Buffer zones can be created. But will ever India and China have a recognized international border? That is another contentious issue. Third issue, Vineet, I would just like to highlight, though SCO and BRICS is considered as a counter to the West, let's look at the West. Today, who is the leader? Unsaid leader. Though, of course, it is not in their charter and mandate. It is America, the American president, whether it is NATO or whether it is Europe Union. Everywhere, the predominance is of America. Today, let's imagine RIC. It comes into some effect, or SCO. Who is going to be the leader? China? Will India accept? No. Russia? Will China accept? No. So, three major tigers in this area, they cannot, be who lead. That is going to be a major issue So it's a good thing it is happening. Certain convergence has to take place, but there are going to be major differences. And as regards, there are many member states in SCO, and including dialogue partners. They also have differences amongst themselves and with other states who are part of the SCO or the dialogue partners. So, unlike the EU, they have differences, but by and large they have convergence on a lot of issues, and we have seen France, UK, Germany. Some of these countries have taken great initiative in binding them. The way Russia-Ukraine war is going, they are having differences like Hungary and all. But overall, there is some strong factor which has binded them, and this has taken years. I think more than after the Second World War. Now, today, to expect that SCO or their BRICS will become that kind of a thing, I think it's going to take lots and lots of time until and unless America keeps doing these wrong acts of trade wars and isolating India. Thereafter, these nations will have no choice. They will start aligning here, and maybe in the near future they can have some kind of a smaller grouping, but the leadership issue will always remain. Vinny.
Fair enough. Mr. Bhattacharya, there was also, this conversation which took place when Mr. Wang Yi was in town, and he spoke about China opening up its minerals market and access to India. How is that likely to help? India obviously has aspirations in the EV market, in the semiconductor market. Will that be something that can be a beginning of a step closer to friendship, or let's not even call friendship, let's say getting along together?
Yeah, I'll again repeat that we need to find out what's our business. In the short run, we have been choked by not just rare earth magnets and the auto parts and so on, but even things like germanium tetrachloride, which is critical for our fiber optics, because the Chinese want to destroy our capacities in fiber optic, our capacities in chemicals, and we can go on because the pricing has been weaponized by the Chinese. But if in the short run we are able to open up the supply chains, we are able to get things like germanium tetrachloride and the rare earth magnets and everything else from China, then it gives us a breathing space to develop our own capabilities and be Atmanirbhar. As we move forward, there is no alternative for India but India itself. And that's something that we should not forget about. All that is happening is a repositioning while giving India a breathing space. If we don't take advantage of this breathing space, we will be in the same space every 5 years, 10 years down the line as powers jostle to come out with what is important for their own people. What the US administration is doing is what they believe is important for their people, even though it's harming millions of people in India and rest of the world. Same with China, they will do what they've done again and again in the interest of their people. If you look at the original SCO membership, it is basically the surrounding countries of China and perhaps Russia, and also those who are encircling India. And that's the problem statement that we are looking at. So SCO is obviously China-centric, serving China's interest to begin with. That is changing, and change will not happen overnight. It's just indicative. The world has moved significantly in the last 10 years, where 10 years ago it was obvious that China is in the horizon and becoming a power. 10 years later, it has become a power. 20 years back, China looked as if it might become a power because it was growing quite rapidly. In the 2011, 2012s, it was obvious that China will become a power. And similarly, the SCO Summit now is an indication of the shift that's happening. The shift hasn't yet happened because it's very difficult to change the status quo. But that change is in the process, and SCO is a signal. The Tianjin SCO is a signal that change is, the writing is in the wall. And pretty soon we will be moving away from a Europe-centric, a US-centric kind of world to a world where there are distinct poles, and then to a world where the population dictates the economy. If you look at SCO again, it's over 40% of the global population. It's over a quarter of the landmass of the world. And if you exclude the non-populated world like the Antarctic and so on, it's probably 30-35% of the global populated world. So that's very, very significant statistics we're talking about. In spite of that, it's only a quarter of the global GDP. So it has to be at least 40 to 45% of the global GDP to to reflect the heft that it carries. And once that happens, there will be more geopolitical issues that will crop up between the SCO countries as we move forward, and it will be a continuous cat and mouse game. And India needs to make sure that we are significantly strengthened economically, from a supply chain perspective, from a military perspective, and from a political perspective, so that we are able to lead a world which is peaceful, does not get into the number of conflicts that we see right now, the millions of people getting killed in Ukraine, in Gaza, and so on and so forth. That should stop, hopefully, as we move forward. And that's the change that we look forward with all these summits coming in. Otherwise, it'll be a repeat of what happened in the League of Nations, what happened of World War I, then World War II, and so on and so forth. We have these dreams of bringing in peace, but these summits that try to bring the key stakeholders and players together must have a underlying rule-based system, as one of the panelists also mentioned, and those rules should be based on justice. It can't be that one of the powers is walking in with blood in their hands, killing innocents in India, and then saying we are an equal member in this particular platform. That should not be accepted and tolerated, but unfortunately that's happening. And therefore, I wouldn't say that this is a very stable alternate platform till the time it really matures to have a rule-based order in this system.
All right. Mithali, a rule-based order in the system, but the world was looking for disruptions in business for a very, very long time, because disruptions create new ideas. But the one disruption that has come about from Donald Trump has broken a number of shackles in the wrong sense of the word. Considering the fact that China did it all alone, what inspiration is there for India to emulate at this point in time? We find ourselves where China was perhaps a couple of decades ago, but we still have a younger population than China. Can we cover that distance faster than China did?
So, Vineet, you'll remember that a few months ago when we were discussing on your channel and when we were discussing on your show, there was a constant, point which was made, a phrase that was used very often: China plus one, China plus one, China plus one. And even at that time, we discussed this, and a lot of us, I think Dr. Jayajit was also there, and we always used to talk about it and say, India should stand on its own. And India should not fall into this narrative and this trap that has been started by the West of China plus one, because we don't want to be an alternative to any other country. We don't want to be, okay, I don't like China anymore, so I like you. We want to be a country that is chosen by global investors, whether they are coming from the East or whether they are coming from the West or whether they are coming from any part of the world, because of our inherent competitiveness as a manufacturing and services hub. And for that, we have to make ourselves a globally competitive economic power. And we are doing that. I mean, if we look at a lot of the efforts that the government has made in the last decade in terms of strengthening the infrastructure, particularly when we look at the investments that have gone into the logistics infrastructure, when we look at, what has happened when it comes to transport infrastructure, when it comes to even urban development to some extent, we have made a lot of progress. But going forward, if we have to be on this path where a global investor has to say that, I would like to come and set up my factory in India, we have to bring in more and more deregulation. We have to make it easier for global and domestic investors to work in India. We have to look at sectors and supporting sectors that we know will have a demand for, in the future. We have to look at renewable energy, we have to look at electric vehicles, we have to look at technical textiles, for example. These are sectors in which we have a natural competitive advantage. And of course, we can work together with countries like China. I mean, China has done a lot, especially in renewable energy, in electric vehicles, in waste to energy. I mean, we have so much waste flowing across our cities. Why are we not investing in, more circular economy solutions like waste to energy plants? Why are we not investing in, pollution management the way China has done in its cities? Why are we not looking at, CETP, common common effluent treatment plants and sewage treatment plants. These are all ways to make our cities better, to improve the infrastructure in the urban spaces as well as in our industrial spaces. So I think at the end of the day, the focus on infrastructure development cannot stop. The focus on deregulation cannot stop. And at the same time, we have to keep on looking for new sectors in which to develop our competitive advantage. Today, India is known globally only for the IT sector. I mean, in some ways, it's like, yes, we identify the tech talent that's coming from India as the world's best, but we need to create at least 10 sectors in which India is the world's best. And of course, if we have to work with other countries to do that, there's no harm in that. And an electronics sector has been supported by number of countries, like South Korea has, also supported our electronics ambitions. Not only, I mean, we always talk about the iPhone plant, but there's also the Samsung plant, which has been set up in Noida. So I think at the end of the day, really the path towards self-reliance and Atmanirbharta has to come from within as well.